The following short stories recount the unjust murders of men, women, and children at the hands of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. While these cases are separate, the justifications provided by the police, along with the subsequent lies and cover-ups, often follow a familiar pattern. The motives behind these killings include 1. The murder of witnesses to cover up extrajudicial killings. 2. Police involvement in contract killings for businessmen, friends, or relatives. 3. Police revenge killings against individuals. 4. Killings rooted in personal disputes between the police and the victim. 5. Unjustified killings of poor male teens and young men due to stereotyping and prejudice. There is a pressing need for fundamental reform within the justice system of Trinidad and Tobago. One major issue is that most murderers are not brought to justice due to a lack of transparency and the sluggishness of the legal system. It can take up to 2 years to charge a police officer with murder, and even longer, about 10 to 12 years, to bring that case to court. It is unjust for the families of victims to wait 12 years for justice, and equally unfair for the accused to remain in jail for over a decade without a trial. The extended duration of cases increases the likelihood of evidence being destroyed or compromised, whether through witness intimidation or witness killings. Therefore, it is crucial for Trinidad and Tobago to establish an independent investigatory agency with the authority and resources to thoroughly investigate police officers involved in serious crimes. Investigations of serious police misconduct should be conducted outside the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Additionally, stringent laws and policies must be enforced against police officers who tamper or remove evidence from crime scenes. Kissa Lindor, 36, was killed on May 16, 2023. He was delivering a car part to a customer when the tragedy struck. At the same time, police were targeting the customer as part of an extrajudicial killing operation. The customer was murdered, and Kissa was also killed by the police to prevent him from being a witness. At least 3 people witnessed the murders. One of the witnesses was 6 feet away, in the front seat of Kissa's car, watching him get killed on his knees with his hands up. The police collected the empty shell casings and seized security footage from a neighbor's camera that recorded the events. No reports or investigations was filed by the police for Kissa's killing. Ronnie Alexander, 40, was killed on January 25, 2025. He was shot by police officers at the request of a businessman named Khan. Khan wanted to prevent his wife from discovering that a woman's husband had a sex tape of his extramarital affair. To justify the murder, Khan reported to the police that Ronnie was an extorter and claimed he was armed. However, no gun was found on Ronnie, and there was no evidence to support the accusation of extortion. Ronnie was murdered while sitting in the corner of his bedroom. No reports or investigations was filed by the police for Ronnie's killing. Akil Williams, 34, killed February 12, 2025. Akil Williams was hanging out in his yard with his family when the police chased someone into his yard. He was frightened by the shooting and ran to the riverbank in his yard for cover. The police approached and shot him once. Then the policeman shot Akil again in the chest while he was on the ground. Then the policeman placed his foot on Akil's head and buried his face in the soft river mud until Akil suffocated to death. As Akil was shot and being suffocated by the police, his sister was witnessing his murder. No reports or investigations was filed by the police for Akil's killing. Rihanna Rennie, 18, Steiner Bahadur, and Roshan Bahadur were tragically killed on January 29, 2025. Their deaths were a result of retaliatory actions by the police. The killings stem from a 4-year-old vendetta that a senior police officer held against a member of the Bahadur family. Unable to locate the intended target, the police chose to kill 2 brothers from the family, along with Rihanna. Rihanna was shot 18 times simply for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. She was silenced because she could have been a witness to the events. The police reported that they killed Rihanna, Steiner, and Roshan because they committed a robbery. However, no robberies were reported in the area for the time and day that the police stated that there was a robbery. No reports or investigations was filed by the police for the killings. Salome Rang Hill, 16, was killed on August 14, 2024. She was shot over 15 times by police officers. Salome was a victim of human trafficking from the age of 14. The police that killed her were aware of her situation and knew she was being exploited by a gangster. The shooting incident involved Salome and 6 other individuals who were allegedly suspected of robbery. However, none of the people killed by the police were involved in the robbery. The underlying motive for the killings appeared to be a personal dispute involving the wife of one of the policemen and an individual who frequently visited the house where Salome was shot. That particular person was not present in the house that day. All 6 victims were ordered to kneel before being shot by the police. Salome had bullet holes in the palms of her hands. No reports or investigations was filed by the police for Salome's killing. Jovan Simon, 31, was killed August 14, 2024. Jovan was a visiting United States citizen. He was vacationing in Trinidad for 2 weeks. Jovan was one of the 6 people killed with Salome. No reports or investigations was filed by the police for Jovan's killing. Natalia Alexander, 23, was killed on August 11, 2021. She was fatally shot by police in front of her 2-year-old daughter. The child later recounted, "I heard a boom, and then mommy fell down and went to sleep." Natalia's blood was splattered all over her daughter. The police had targeted Natalia's boyfriend for an extrajudicial killing operation and killed Natalia because she was a witness to her boyfriend's execution. Authorities claimed to have found a gun that her boyfriend allegedly fired at them. However, the pictures showed that the gun was a non-operational, derelict weapon. No reports or investigations was filed by the police for Natalia's killing. Jeremy Baptiste, 17, was killed on May 25, 2024. He was a teenager with big dreams of becoming a businessman and owning his own company. Jeremy had no history of trouble with anyone, including the law. Tragically, his dreams were cut short by police gunfire. The media published the same familiar narrative seen in other police killings. A car chase claims that he had a gun, and the assertion that the police had to shoot. However, witnesses did not report any shootout. Additionally, Jeremy was shot in the chest while running away from the police. No reports or investigations was filed by the police for Jeremy's killing. Brandon DeGale, 33, was killed on November 29, 2023, while in bed with his wife beside him. His wife is a police officer. The policeman that killed Brandon took the security video of the incident. It appears that Brandon's killing was a contract killing job executed by the police, linked to a government contract dispute. Brandon was not wanted for any crimes. Instead, he was actively helping many residents in his community by providing them with jobs related to government contracts. No reports or investigations was filed by the police for Brandon's killing. Charles Kubwal Singh was killed on September 16, 2023. He was a police officer and had witnessed a killing committed by his senior officer. Charles served as a witness for the prosecution, but was murdered before he could testify. Brent Codrington, 28, was killed on April 9, 2025. He was shot by the police boyfriend of his child's mother, along with that boyfriend's police colleagues. Prior to his death, Brent recorded a message to a friend in which he expressed his belief that the police were going to kill him. Brent had ongoing issues with his child's mother and her boyfriend before the incident occurred. No reports or investigations was filed by the police for Brent's killing. This case will provide you with an example of how lies, cover-ups, witness tampering, and the intentional slow Trinidad and Tobago judicial system is rigged to set police officers free for unjustified murders. It took 12 years for this case to come to court. In July 2011, 3 friends from Moruga, Trinidad and Tobago, Abigail Johnson, Alana Duncan, and Karen Fingers Eccles, were killed in Barakpur. 6 police officers were accused of the murders, including Sergeant Cameron Sahadio, PC Ronaldo Riviero, PC Glenn Singh, PC Roger Nicholas, PC Safraz Juman, and PC Antonio Ramadan. The officers were charged with murder. It took 12 years for the case to come before the court. According to the Guardian newspaper, one of the state's main witnesses in the case was WPC Nicole Clement, who was initially charged alongside her former colleagues from the San Fernando robbery squad, before entering into a plea agreement with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. However, Clement refused to testify in the trial due to alleged safety and security concerns. She was deemed a hostile witness, and her testimony during the preliminary inquiry of the case was read to the jury. Clement initially claimed that Eccles and Duncan survived the volley of gunshots and Johnson died on the scene. She claimed that she and 3 of her colleagues took Eccles and Duncan to a remote road off the M2 Ring Road in Woodland, where they were shot again. Spent shells and a used glove was found at the location, after Clement gave the statement to investigators. The officers arrived at Princestown Health Facility with the injured trio almost an hour and a half after the initial shooting. Clement also sought to detail the steps that she and her colleagues allegedly took to attempt to cover up the crime, including rehearsing their version of the events and writing consistent statements. During the trial, the jury also heard that months before she was due to testify, Clement sent a letter to DPP Roger Gaspard, SC, indicating her reluctance to testify. She also provided a statement in which she gave an alternative version of the events and claimed that she had threatened her colleagues in order for them to execute Eccles and Duncan after the initial shooting. It took a 12-member jury before Justice Carla Brown Antoine to consider 4 months of evidence and return with not guilty verdicts for 6 police officers.